Hi. Welcome to Lily's Story channel. If you like my channel, please like and subscribe. Now the story begins. At our engagement party, Robert was suddenly absent. He sent a brief message, something came up, can't make it. Then, at that moment I received a photo from his ex Claire. She was topless, lying in Robert's arms, while he was sound asleep beside her. It was clear he never intended to marry me. However, I didn't confront him about it after all. The person I truly wanted to marry wasn't him either. At the engagement party, Robert was suddenly nowhere to be found. No matter how many times I called, he didn't answer. He finally sent me a brief message, something came up, I have to go. I stood up in front of all our friends and family, giving those who doubted me more reason to criticize. It was then that I received a photo from his ex Claire. Claire was lying half naked in Robert's arms. Robert was sleeping soundly beside her. It turned out he never intended to marry me, but I didn't react with the usual outburst. I quietly went home, packed my things, and moved out. After all, he wasn't the one I truly wanted to marry. At the engagement party, I received photos from Claire. Their bare skin was covered in red marks. The girl's lips were swollen, her eyes misty. It was clear what they had done the night before. What really stung was the diamond ring she flaunted on her hand. Remembered when Robert first started his business, he came home ill. 9 he often forgot to eat when he was busy. So, I would make sure to cook for him just before he got home. After cooking, I would lie on the sofa waiting for Robert to come home. Exhausted from my own job during the day, I sometimes fell asleep holding a pillow. In my sleep, I felt someone playing with my fingers. I opened my eyes to see Robert's flustered expression and couldn't help but laugh. I guessed he was measuring my finger for a proposal ring. Teasingly, I asked Robert, "What are you up to?" He avoided my gaze and mumbled, "Never mind, the secret." Then he ruffled my hair and went to have dinner I had prepared for him. The next day, I received a message from a friend of mine. She told me that Robert's ex, Claire, had returned. Claire had once been my best friend too. She even helped me plan how to win Robert's heart. But unexpectedly, she ended up with Robert herself later on. They soon broke up because Claire went abroad for studies and didn't want to stay with him anymore. Robert then confessed his feelings to me. I guessed he wanted to spite Claire. But I agreed because I genuinely liked him. I believed time would heal everything and that I could make Robert truly fall for me. Even though we had been together for 3 years, I still felt uneasy hearing that Claire had returned. After work, I sat at home waiting for Robert, feeling distracted. It wasn't until the door opened that I snapped back to reality. Robert staggered in and collapsed onto me. Smelling the alcohol on him, I frowned and asked worriedly, "Why did you drink so much?" Robert rarely drank. Only when something significant happened would he get drunk like this. Thinking about what my friend told me about Claire's return today, I couldn't help but connect the two events in my mind. Before I could ask anything, something fell to the ground suddenly, settled Robert on the sofa, and looked down to find it was a Rena box. Opening it revealed a beautiful 1-carat diamond ring. Carefully slipping it onto my finger, I found it fit perfectly inside IR. Relief, so it really was meant for me. He truly wanted to marry me. Reflecting on my day's needless worries, I laughed with relief. I took off the ring and placed it back in the box, slipping it into Robert's pocket. I kissed him on the cheek, eagerly awaiting his proposal. But now that ring was on Claire's hand. He had forgotten we were of similar build with nearly identical finger sizes. Looking at the photo, I found it laughable. Before I could reply to Claire, Robert suddenly called. He finally remembered me. "Where are you?" I asked calmly as soon as I answered the CA Madeline. "I don't like being questioned," he said irritably. That line was all too familiar. Every time he lied, he used that line to suppress me. In the 3 years we were together, Robert secretly met with Claire many times. Each time he disappeared for a week. During that week, he wouldn't answer calls or texts. It was as if I wasn't allowed to disturb his time alone. When he came back, his neck was covered in red marks. I angrily asked him where they came from. At first, he'd casually say they were mosquito bites and tell me not to overthink it. But if I questioned him a second time, he'd get angry and say, "Madeline, I don't like being questioned." He knew that when he got angry, I'd back down. Seeing that I hadn't responded for a while, he softened his tone to "Madeline, I've been really busy with work, mean to stand you up. When I'm free, I'll make it up to you with an engagement party, okay? I've just ordered the latest handbag for you, will be delivered soon." As soon as he finished speaking, a woman's coquettish voice came through, "Baby, why did you buy her the same bag as mine?" To cover up the voice, Robert quickly said, "It's not talk about this now." "Robert," I interrupted him, my voice distant and cold. Usually, unless something serious happened, I wouldn't talk to him in such a cold voice. He paused noticeably. "Today is another star. The bottle is almost full," I continued. This was our agreement. We had 2 glass bottles at home. One tied with a blue ribbon and one with a red ribbon. The blue ribboned bottle was for my happy moments. Whenever Robert did something that made me happy, I'd fold a little star and put it in the bottle. When the bottle was full, I'd marry Robert. The red ribboned bottle was for my sad moments. Whenever Robert did something that made me sad, I'd fold a little star and put it in the bottle. When that bottle was full, I'd leave Robert. Back then Robert held me and said, "I won't let you fill the red ribboned bottle. In other words, I won't let you leave me." Leaning against his chest, I smiled and said, "I believe you." I never expected the red ribboned bottle to fill so quickly, while the blue ribboned bottle remained empty. Sometimes, I'd even deceive fold Ina stars for his smallest gestures, like him taking out the trash without being asked or turning off the lights before bed, just so I could marry him sooner. For something like leaving me on the highway after an argument or going out with friends while I had a fever and then blaming me for not having dinner ready when he returned, I'd hesitate to put stars in the red ribboned bottle, just because I didn't want to leave him. After realizing what I'd said, he grew impatient. "Isn't it just a small thing? Do you really like folding stars so much?" I didn't respond but lowered my head and laughed bitterly at myself. "Madeline, stop making trouble. I'll be back tomorrow morning. I love you. Be good," Robert coaxed. He knew that if he softened his tone, I'd be reluctant to add stars to that red ribboned bot, but this time would be different. I wouldn't let him take my love for granted. I didn't respond to Robert's last words. Instead of saying in a playful tone, "I'll forgive you this time," I simply hung up the phone in silence. Then I went back to our home and smashed both glass bottles. After packing my things, I sent Robert a message. "This is the end for us." Once sent, I deleted all his contact information. It was time for a new beginning. Returning to my own little place, I finally felt truly relaxed. I no longer had to maintain a perfect image and could be myself without restraint. After taking a shower, I put on a red bodycon dress and did my makeup in a swatry style. An dress had been sitting at the bottom of my wardrobe since I bought it because Robert liked me in white dresses, looking pure and innocent, had Alwa. AVS tried to uphold that delicate image for him, but pretend Ina for so lona hack exhausted me. Once everything was ready, I called my friend. "Wanna go to the bar?" "I'm in. This is rare," Elizabeth exclaimed. "Do you know how long it's been since we went out together?" I bit my lower lip and quilt. Ever since I started dating Robert, my world revolved around him. I constantly worried about his sleep, his work stress, and whether he had eaten and doing. So, I had neglected my friends, as we only chatted online. It had been ages since we hung out together. Just as I was about to apologize, she suddenly got excited. "Hurry up. I haven't even taken off my makeup vet. See you at our usual spot." I laughed and agreed, feeling good to know she hadn't changed a bit. A+Thar. In trance, I was playing on my phone while waiting for her when someone slapped me on the butt from behind. Startled, I turned around. "Madeline, I knew it was you," she giggled, finally dropping the goody two-shoes act. "You look stunning in this. Strike a pose and let me take a picture," she insisted. Though reluctant, I pretended to fix my hair and posed. Seeing the photo made me realize how beautiful and Elizabeth pulled me inside and ordered a bunch of stuff from the waiter. Once we sat on the couch, she showed me her Instagram where she had posted my picture. Within 5 minutes, it had over 100 likes, mostly compliments from other girls and some old classmates. "Haven't seen Madeline dressed like this in ages. She looks absolutely gorgeous." One comment stood out glaringly. It was from Robert. Tell her to call me. He still acted so high and mighty, silently cursing him. I focused back on enjoying myself. Soon enough our orders arrived, snacks, drinks, and male models. Shocked, I looked at Elizabeth. She wrapped an arm around my shoulder and said, "Since your boyfriend let you out tonight, shouldn't we have some fun?" "We broke up," I casually mentioned while spearing a piece of fruit with a fork and popping it into my mouth. "He dumped you," she shouted over the music. I broke it off. I rolled my eyes in exasperation. "Good for you, finally came to your senses." She looked at me with pride as if her daughter had grown up. "So now I'm looking for someone rich," I joked as I pushed her face away playfully. "Love can be faked, but money is real," I quipped. "I think I'm pretty wealthy," a magnetic male voice interrupted Flizaheth, and I turned simulter. Neasly to see a man sitting with his legs crossed, swirling his wine glass, ITW Robert's friend, Benjamin. "So what do you think about me?" I was so shocked that the fruit in my mouth fell to the ground. Coming back to my senses, I awkwardly grabbed a napkin to wipe my mouth. Benjamin, however, was amused by me. He got up and walked towards me, sitting down beside me. He slowly leaned closer, stopping at half an arm's length away. He stared at me intently, his handsome features close enough to touch. There was a mole at the corner of Benjamin's Eve, making his smile particularly charming. It was hard not to be allured by it. He then whispered softly in my ear, "Madeline, you won't regret being with me." His warm breath brushed against my ear, making me uncomfortable. I pushed him away, trying to stay calm. I said, "What are you talking about?" "Being with my ex-boyfriend's buddy. Do you think we're shooting a..." Just as Benjamin was about to speak, a phone rang suddenly. I looked down and saw it was my phone ringing. It was an unknown number. It felt like a rescue. Even if it was a scam call, I would take it. As soon as I answered the call, I regretted it immediately upon hearing the voice on the other end. "Are you at a bar?" Robert asked knowingly. "Yes," I didn't want to waste my breath talking to him. "Do you know how dangerous bars are? It's not proper for girls to go to such places," he kept pressing. I hadn't finished speaking when Robert interrupted me. "Have Elizabeth send me your location. I'm coming over right now." "And since when did you learn to block people?" His concern made me laugh inwardly. After his startup succeeded, he frequently went to bars himself. Countless times, I was woken up by phone calls in the middle of the night. He would arrogantly command me to pick him up from the bar because he couldn't drive after drinking and couldn't get a cab at that hour. Time after time, I patiently carried him home. Fighting off sleepiness and work fatigue, I took care of him in his drunk state. Yet, he would unceremoniously vomit in the living room despite the bathroom being right next door. After that, he would comfortably sleep in the guest room while I cleaned the living room until dawn. Every time I asked him to go to bars less often, he would brush me off with the same excuse. "It's socializing, I'm exhausted too." "Do you think I enjoy going to bars? I'm doing this for a better life for us. If it weren't for needing so much money for our wedding, would I work this hard?" At first, I understood him and held his hand, telling him I really appreciated that, but somewhere along the line, I stopped caring about these things. I hired a chauffeur specifically for him, who catered to his needs. He enjoyed it and partied even harder. I was about to retort when Benjamin suddenly grabbed my phone and casually said, "Don't worry, Robert, I'll take good care of Madeline." "Madeline, since when did you get so close to her?" I was thinking about how to respond when Robert spoke again. "Whatever, take good care of her for me. I'm busy and can't make it back." Then there was a girl's coquettish voice in the background. It was Claire's voice. The call ended abruptly after that. Benjamin looked up at me. He had clearly heard the girl's voice too. Tears suddenly streamed down my face, not because of Robert but because I felt heartbroken over my own efforts. Benjamin's brows furrowed with concern. He cautiously asked, "Can you stop liking him? He's not worth your affection." Uncontrollably, I reached out my hand to smooth his furrowed brows. He grabbed my hand and placed it on his cheek. He seriously and earnestly asked, "Will you consider giving me a chance?" At that moment I suddenly felt that Mav Baina with him wouldn't be so bad after all. But I quickly dismissed this idea. Getting involved with my ex-boyfriend's brother seemed somewhat inappropriate. I pulled my hand back and started drinking the wine on the table by myself, Why dawn? Elizabeth had already fallen asleep on the sofa. I sent a message to her boyfriend. Not long after her boyfriend came to pick her up, after Elizabeth left, it was just Benjamin and me. The atmosphere was slightly awkward. How do you plan to get home? Benjamin asked me. I glanced at the time. It was too late to catch a cab, decided to walk home instead. I didn't respond to Benjamin and abruptly stood up, then I staggered towards the door. Benjamin followed closely behind me. But due to wearing high heels, I stumbled with every step. I simply took off my heels and walked barefoot. Are you planning to walk home barefoot? Benjamin's voice came from behind, mumbled something under my breath, not even sure what I was saying myself. Suddenly, I was lifted in a bridal carry. Benjamin, what are you doing? Taking good care of you for my brother, he said with a raised eyebrow. Initially wanted to struggle a bit, to play coy. But since his embrace felt quite comfortable, I obediently leaned against his chest, had a scent of the ocean that felt warm and reassuring. Early autumn had just arrived, and there was already a chill in the wind. Wearing a tight skirt, I couldn't help but shrink my neck from the cold, he asked when he saw me shiver. Yes, I replied softly. Then snuggle into my coat, he said calmly. This doesn't seem appropriate, I said, feeling a bit embarrassed. As soon as I spoke, a gust of wind blew past. I quickly snuggled into his coat. His chest was warm, and his heartbeat was strong and rapid. I knew he was nervous too. When we got home, he placed me on the sofa. Then he went to the kitchen to make some hangover soup for me. After he finished, he brought it out for me. He blew on it a few times to ensure it wasn't too hot before handing it to me. I sipped it slowly. The warm liquid slid down my throat. Looking at his face, I felt an unprecedented happiness. Turns out being taken care of is such a blissful thing. It turns out I don't always have to take care of others, someone can take care of me too. After I finished drinking, he took the bowl back to the kitchen to was. Watching his back, I couldn't help but laugh. Even though they were brothers, why were they so different? Sleepiness suddenly overwhelmed me, and I fell asleep on the sofa. When I woke up, I stretched habitually. I realized that at some point, someone had covered me with a blanket. Time flies. Robert hadn't done this for me in ages. Now he only mechanically says, "Who told you to sleep outside?" Then he'd AO out and fool around with his friends. As soon as I got up, I saw Benjamin asleep on the coffee table. I draped the blanket over him. Then I carefully observed his face. The more I looked, the more amazed I was at how handsome he was. Watching his lightly trembling eyelashes, I couldn't resist touching them with my hand. He one-kned his eaves and Arabed my hand. Nervously swallowing, I didn't pull away. We just looked at each other without saying a word. Suddenly he let go of my hand. He stood up, grabbed his coat from the sofa, and headed for the door. I followed him to the entrance. He said to me, "I'll leave." No, it's not appropriate for me to stay at a girl's house, but suddenly, I grabbed his sleeve. I said seriously, "Benjamin, I want to give us a try." So what if he's my ex-boyfriend's brother? He's single, I am single. It makes perfect sense for us to be together. He was stunned at first, then lifted me and placed me on the shoe cabinet. We were eye to eye. He hesitated for a moment, then stared into my eyes and asked, "Have you thought it through?" I nodded, "I've thought it through." He smiled, then kissed my lips briefly before pulling away. I stood there, stunned, and stammered, Isn't this moving a bit too fast?" He ruffled my hair, "Then we'll take it slow." Just as he finished speaking, the doorbell rang. I was about to get down from the shoe cabinet to answer the door, but he stopped me. "I'll get it." He went to one in the door, but I noticed he stood there for a while, curious. I jumped down from the shoe cabinet. I walked to the door and peeked out to see Robert standing outside. I blurted out, "Why are you here?" He clearly wasn't pleased with my question. He pushed past Benjamin and me, heading straight to the "What is wrong with you?" I was baffled by his actions. "Madeline, are you angry with me?" He suddenly grabbed my wrist and pulled me forward. "As your fiancé, why can't I be here?" Benjamin rushed over, pulled me back, and knocked Robert's hand away. Hearing Robert's words made me furious too. "Fiancé?" I repeated the word several times in my mind, finding it laughable. "Did you forget leaving me alone at our engagement party, or that you had a girlfriend?" Me sleep nig w women? Do you know, L actually knew of everything. Once, I went to your office to find you and overheard you discussing your OSL plans with a friend, naively thought I would be the heroine, but then you said I could never compare to Claire. At that moment, I realized clearly that I couldn't marry you and I wouldn't marry you. After saying all this, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. Benjamin gently patted my back, comforting me. Robert laughed at this sight. So what, you cheated on me with my brother? After all that talk, his irrelevant response left me cold. Yes, so what? I retorted disdainfully. Madeline, I know you're not like this. Stop making a fuss. I promise I'll stop seeing her. Can we just live our lives together? The things I said to my friend were just jokes. You know, she's just my past, Yuri, my future. He took out a black card from his bag, trying to appease me. I picked up scissors from the table and cut it in half. What, did you think I'd be swayed by money? I shot back. Madeline, don't go too far. Robert clearly didn't expect this from me. Stop calling me Madeline. From now on, I'm your sister-in-law. Show some respect, I said nonchalantly. He laughed as if hearing something ridiculous. You and my brother. Don't joke around. My brother would never go for you, he said incredulously. Why not? Benjamin took my hand and waved it in front of him. You've lost your mind. You're stealing my girlfriend. He lunged forward and grabbed Benjamin's collar. Aren't you afraid Grandpa will find out? We have an engagement contract, he roared. I stepped forward and forcefully pried Robert's hand away. Then I stood on tiptoe to help Benjamin straighten his collar and tie. Madeline, you've never fixed my tie before. You said it's something only a wife should do. So stop deluding yourself. You know why I still attended the engagement party even though I knew you didn't want to marry me? I smiled. Because your absence disgraced our family, giving me grounds to break off the engagement. So you never intended to marry me. This was all a setup, wasn't it? He looked at me in disbelief. Yes, but I didn't expect you to be so stupid that you'd only realize it now. I glanced at him indifferently. Now that everything is out in the open, you can leave. I want to spend some time alone with my boyfriend, I said coldly. Madeline, don't treat me like this, he pleaded. I don't want things to end on a sour note. Let's at least keep some of the good memories. Fine. He stood up and walked out. At the door, he hesitated to close it, his eaves reddening. As he stared at me, he thought I would feel so. And ask him to stay, but I was no longer the person I used to be. Now I understand. Someone who truly loves you wouldn't hurt you, he wouldn't harm you for his own selfish desires, nor would he ignore the tears you shed for him after leaving him. His fake sorrow and those insincere apologies were just acts. I walked up without hesitation and shut the door firmly to as I turned around. Benjamin was standing right behind me. He hesitated for a moment before asking, so you never planned to marry him? I'm not a masochist, there's no need to seek out suffering, I responded. So, are you serious about being with me or just playing around? Why do you sound like a little girl? I'm serious. I laughed at his question. He still seemed doubtful and looked down at me. I cupped his face and said word by word, I'm serious, very serious, more real than pearls. That afternoon Benjamin and I staved together. We curled up on the sofa watching a suspense mo. My stomach growled at an inconvenient moment. I blushed with embarrassment. I'm a bit hungry, I'll make dinner. He carefully protected my dignity. I nodded obediently. After dinner, he showed no intention of leaving my place. It's getting late, I reminded him. It really is. I'll go take a shower first. He quickly walked towards the bather. By the time I realized what was happening, the sound of running water was already coming. I leaned against the wall feeling a bit annoyed. My small apartment only had one room. It wouldn't be right to let him sleep in the living room. After all, the sofa wasn't big enough for his 6'3" frame, but sharing my bedroom with him seemed too fast-paced in our relationship. As I was pondering this, the bathroom door suddenly opened. He came out with just a towel wrapped around his waist. I quickly covered my eyes but couldn't help peeking through my fingers, those broad shoulders, narrow waist, and 8-pack abs. Do you have any men's clothes? I didn't bring any, he asked suddenly. How could one? I've never brought any man home before, was taken aback but replied immediately, oh, I thought Robert had stayed here before. He raised an eyebrow slightly. I'll sleep in the living room tonight, he continued. But can you even lie flat with your height? I couldn't help but ask. True. Then FLL sleep on the floor. But I don't have any extra blankets. In that case, there's no other option. I'll have to saw into ether. As soon as he finished speak, Ina immediately lay down on my bed. After turning off the lights, there was a gap between us on the bed. Nervously clutched the blanket up to half my face. Seeing this, he laughed softly and said, "Don't worry, I won't do anything." I responded quietly with a humph. Smelling his scent, I fell asleep unknowingly. In my sleep, he suddenly moved closer and held me in his arms, his bare chest pressed against my back, and I woke up instantly. He whispered softly, "I want to introduce you to my grandfather. I want to get married." I turned around and hugged him back. The next morning, I went with Benjamin to visit GRA. My palms were sweaty with nerves the entire way. This was actually my first formal visit to Grandpa. During my time with Robert, he always relayed Grandpa's messages but never allowed me to visit. As far as I knew, he had taken Claire to meet Grandpa many times. "We're here," Benjamin said, looking at me. "Do I look okay? Will Grandpa like me?" "What if he doesn't?" I asked Benjamin anxiously. "You look great. Grandpa will like you because I like you," he said, taking my hand and leading me inside. "Grandpa, I've brought your daughter-in-law," Benjamin said as he approached Grandpa. "Oh, you really want to marry her?" Robert suddenly said, descending the stairs. "Did you ask for my opinion before deciding to marry her?" Robert finished and punched Benjamin hard in the face. "Robert, are you crazy?" I quickly Arabed Benjamin as he staggered back. Benjamin's lip was split and his nose was bleeding. Furious, I stepped forward and slapped Robert across the face. His head turned from the impact, and a red mark appeared on his cheek. "If you touch my boyfriend again, you'll regret it." "Madeline, you actually hit me for the first time because of him," Robert said incredulously, turning to look at me. "I'll hit you a second time if you try anything else. Want to test me?" I glared at him. Inua. Stop Arkina, Grandpa suddenly spoke from the sofa where he sat quietly. "Grandpa, you have to stand up for me. I've treated him like a brother, and now he's stealing my fiancé," Robert said as he hurried over to pour water for Grandpa in an attempt to curry favor. I started to argue but was stopped by Benjamin's hand on my arm. He shook his head, signaling that he would handle it. Benjamin pulled a document from a gift bag and tossed it on the table. "Don't call me brother-Erie, not even part of the Hart family," he said, glaring at Robert like an interrogator. "Impossible," Robert exclaimed as he flipped through the DNA test results on the table. "I edit you just want to kick me out of the Hart family. So vous forward these results. How can you prove the samples re mine?" Robert retorted with as. "Smile, I can prove it," Grandpa suddenly said. "Robert, you're indeed not a Hart family child." Ming's parents passed away early, leaving only him. One day, the nanny took Ming out to play and accidentally lost him. Searched for a long time but couldn't find him. "We thought Ming had an accident, but the company needed an heir, so you from an orpha Lage because you seemed ambitious and renamed you Robert." Grandpa narrated calmly as if telling a story. Robert couldn't stay calm, stepped forward to question him. "So very telling me now that I'm just Benjamin's replacement? Everything I have is fake?" "Robert, the Hart family hasn't treated you badly over the years. I've given you everything you've wanted," Grandpa said slowly after taking a sip of tea. "Fine, then I want Madeline now. Make Benjamin give her to me." "That won't happen, but I can arrange for you and Claire to have a grand wedding," laughed. Even Grandpa knew about his affair with Claire. "You liars, if I can't have a good life, neither will any of you." With that, he grabbed a fruit knife from the table and lunged at B. In a panic, instinctively rushed forward to shield Benjamin from the nitty. It was at that moment I realized how important Benjamin had become to me, or rather, I had fallen in love with someone I had only known for a few days. It was both absurd and unbelievable. I closed my eyes expecting pain, but it never came. Instead, I heard Robert's scream. When I opened my eyes, I saw that 2 tall security cords had restrained him. One guard held him by the neck from behind while the other tied his hands behind his back. "From today onwards, you are no longer part of the Hart family. I will reveal your true identity," Benjamin said calmly. "Your every move was recorded by a hidden camera. Spend some time in jail for now. As for Claire, I heard she's engaged to the son of the Fisher family. But don't worry, since she is someone my brother likes, I will make sure her wedding doesn't succeed." With that, Benjamin gestured to the security guards, who immediately took Robert away. The hallway echoed with Robert's cries and screams. Benjamin walked up behind me and embraced me. "Miss Fisher, were you trying to save me just now? But I have nothing to repay you with. How about marrying me?" I turned my head and kissed him on the cheek, smiling as I replied, "Sure." "All right, you lovebirds, stop showing off in front of an old man like me," the old man couldn't help but say as he waved me over to sit beside him. "Madeline, I'm sorry for what you've been through, but rest assured, my eldest grandson is a good man and a suitable match." "So Madeline, are you willing to marry Shimming?" "I am." "Don't force her," Benjamin and I said simultaneously. He seemed surprised by my response and stood there stunned for a moment before sitting next to me excitedly, put his arm around my shoulder and said with a smile, "Grandpa, don't worry, I'll take good care of Madeline." On the way home, he hummed a tune while driving. I couldn't help but tease him. "Are you that happy?" "Well, not really," he teased back. I playfully pushed his shoulder and said haughtily, "Then I won't marry you." Just then we arrived home, and he stopped the car. He unbuckled his seatbelt and turned to face me seriously. "I'm very happy, not because of the wedding itself but because I'm marrying you." As soon as he finished speaking, he leaned in to kiss me. I saw his closed eaves and the mole at the corner of his eave. His warm breath carried a faint ocean scent. I closed my eaves and carefully kissed him back. Just like a song says, the best person will come into your life. At that moment, I felt it was true. Later that night, I lay in bed playing on my phone while Benjamin read a book. Remembering what Grandpa had said about him getting lost as a child, I couldn't help but ask more about it. Loving someone means wanting to know everything about them, including their past. So I reached out and poked him. He looked down at me and raised an eyebrow. "What's up?" "I heard you got lost as a child and no one could find you. How did you make it back?" Hearing this, he closed his book and lay down beside me. "I went into the sea to play when I was little. A wave knocked me over, not knowing how to swim, struggled desperately. The more I struggled, the harder it was to breathe until eventually I collapsed in the water." Listening to his story made my heart ache. I patted his back to comfort him. "What happened next?" "Don't you remember, the little girl collecting seashells?" "What, you were that chubby kid?" I exclaimed as the memory hit me. I remembered a summer vacation when I went to visit my grandfather, who was a fisherman who went out early every morning to fish, enjoyed collecting shells on the beach while waiting for him. One afternoon, my grandfather returned from fishing with a little boy on his back. The boy was fair and chubby, clearly well taken care of. My grandfather changed him into clean clothes and laid him on the bed. The boy woke up that evening but couldn't remember his name or where he came from. Grandfather said he might have amnesia from shock and asked me to take care of him and play with him for a few days while he tried to find the boy's parents. However, the boy was very reserved and refused to go near the sea, standing far away from the shore. One day, he suddenly asked me, "Why do you like collecting shells so much? I should just call you the shell-gathering girl." "Whatever," I replied, a bit speechless. Coming back to the present, I looked at Benjamin and laughed. "Haha, so you were that silly chubby kid." "I wasn't chubby, it was baby fat," he pouted in dissatisfaction. All right, it was baby fat," I said, patting his head to smooth his hair. The next day, we went to the Civil Affairs Bureau and got our marriage certificate. Holding the red booklet in my hand, I couldn't help but wonder if this was a flash marriage. Benjamin naturally took the certificate from my hand and snapped a photo. He posted it on Instagram with the caption, "Married the love of my life." I smiled and liked his post, then I posted my own, "To the one I love and who loves me." We spent the following days busy with wedding preparations, from invitations to wedding dresses, gifts for guests, and finally the wedding venue. Decided to get married in my hometown and invited our closest friends to witness our wedding. Before the ceremony started, he came into my dressing room, took my hand, and said, "Sorry you had to wake up so early for makeup." "It's not a bother at all," I shook my head earnestly. Really, there was nothing to feel wronged about. He had spoiled me endlessly. Suddenly remembered a friend asking why I decided to get married. I thought about it and realized it was because with him by my side, there was always warm water by the bed, tissues moved themselves closer, shrimp were peeled, fish bones removed, eating an extra bite of food earned praise, and whenever I felt down, he would appear quickly to give me a reassuring hug. Everything seemed bright, from being slightly afraid of marriage to looking forward to it eagerly. Never spoke sweet words but always showed his love through actions. During the wedding ceremony, after exchanging rings, everyone cheered for us to kiss. Amidst laughter and joy, we kissed each other sincerely. Suddenly, tears fell onto my face. Opening my eyes, I saw Benjamin's reddened eyes and tears streaming down. I couldn't help but think he looked more like a bride leaving her family behind than I did. Our married life was blissful and fulfilling, had a daughter named Abigail and adopted an orange tabby cat to keep her company. Chatting with friends one day, they told me that at Claire's wedding with Mr. Fisher's son, Benjamin had sent a significant gift. He played the videos and photos Claire had once sent me directly for Mr. Fisher to see. As expected, it led to disaster. Mr. Fisher's family lost face and immediately called off the engagement with Claire and blacklisted their business. I had already guessed this because Benjamin would never let anyone bully me. That night in bed, unable to sleep, Benjamin hugged me from behind. Can't sleep. I turned around to face him and said seriously, "Husband, it's so good to have you." He rubbed his nose against mine gently. "So good to have you too." Today's story is over. Thank you all for listening.